am Maneleine a second-year student of Bachelor of Elementary Education, and for today's video, I am going to talk about female reproductive system. We all came from our parents. Humans, plants, and animals came from their respective parents. What do humans, plants, and animals have in common? They all reproduce. People, plants, and animals are living things. All living things are capable of reproduction. Reproduction is a process in which organisms produce more of its kind. Reproduction ensures continuity of life. Have you ever wondered how people multiply? It is because of human reproductive system. We have two kinds, the male and female reproductive system. And for today's video, we will focus on the female reproductive system, parts, and their functions. What does the female reproductive system do? A woman's reproductive system makes it possible for her to get pregnant and give birth. It includes two ovaries, two fallopian tubes, the uterus, the cervix, and of course, the vagina. The different parts of the female reproductive system have their specific functions. The ovary produces egg cells as well as the female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Female humans have two ovaries. Did you know that about 70,000 potential egg cells are already present in the ovaries of a female when she's born? However, only 500 of these eggs will mature. The mature eggs are released one by one every month once the female reaches puberty and until she is about 43 to 45 years old. The mature egg cell leaves the ovary through the fallopian tube. Fallopian tubes. These are the thin, soft tubes extending from the uterus to the ovaries. The fallopian tubes lead the egg from the ovary to the uterus. This is also the usual site of fertilization of the egg cell and sperm cell. Female humans have fallopian tubes, each connecting to an ovary to the side of the uterus. Uterus. It is also called as the womb. The uterus is a hollow, muscular organ located at the lower abdomen. It has a soft, smooth inner lining called the uterine lining or endometrium. This lining becomes thicker as it accumulates blood and nutrients to accommodate the unborn baby as it develops. It is also the site where the fertilized egg is implanted. If the egg cell is not fertilized, together with the uterine lining, it will break down and is discharged during menstruation. Cervix. The cervix is located at the lower part of the uterus. It is a narrow opening between the uterus and the vagina. During childbirth, it expands to allow the passage of the baby. The ovary produces egg cells as well as the female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Female humans have two ovaries. Vagina, also called the birth canal. The vagina is a hollow, muscular tube that extends from the cervix to the vaginal opening called vulva. It extends to let the baby pass during normal delivery. Fertilization is the union of one sperm and one ovum or egg. The process takes place in the fallopian tube and happens when the male ejaculates semen into the vagina. Although there are millions of sperm in this semen, only around 1,000 make it as far as the fallopian tubes. The semen containing sperm travel from the vagina through the cervix, the uterus, and finally into the fallopian tube in search of the ovum. If this happens around the time of ovulation, there is, or soon will be, an ovum or egg in the fallopian tube. One sperm will penetrate it. This is the moment of fertilization. The remaining sperm cells will die off and dissolve. These two cells then become one cell, which is neither a sperm nor an ovum or egg. But this is called a zygote. This zygote spends the next few days traveling down the fallopian tube. As it travels, it begins to divide within itself into two identical cells, and those 2 into 4, and those 4 into 8, and so on. This zygote or ball of cells is now called a blastocyst. The blastocyst is made up of an inner group of cells and an outer group of cells. The inner group of cells will become the baby or embryo, and the outer group of cells will become structures which nourish and protect the baby. Once the embryo is inside the uterus and securely attached to the wall of the uterus, then the process of implantation is complete and the placenta begins to form. It is at this point that the process of conception is complete. A pregnancy starts with fertilization. It happens when a woman's egg joins with a man's sperm. All the eggs for a woman's lifetime are stored in her ovaries. About once a month, an egg is released. This is called ovulation. It usually happens in the middle of the menstrual cycle between periods. The day of ovulation and the 5 days before it are when a woman is most fertile. This means she's most likely to get pregnant if she has sex during this time. The egg then enters the fallopian tube. It leads to the uterus. If the egg is not fertilized or does not implant, the woman's body sheds the egg and the lining of the uterus. This shedding causes the bleeding in a woman's menstrual period. To grasp deeper learning, let's now take a look on how female reproductive system works.
When the sperm cells enter vagina, millions of these will run through the fallopian tube to meet the egg cell. But only one sperm cell will win the race. When the egg cell and sperm cell unite, fertilization occurs. The fertilized egg cell will now leave the fallopian tube. And it will be planted in the uterine lining. It will now form a zygote. The endometrium thickens as the unborn grows and develops in the uterus. And when the baby is ready to be born, the cervix expands to let the head of the baby out through the vagina.
It is really important for us to be knowledgeable enough about the reproductive systems, for it creates awareness about puberty, menstruation, conception, and pregnancy. Aside from that, it's important to know how humans can reproduce or make babies so that people can either plan or avoid an unwanted pregnancy. The reproductive system includes all of the organs on the inside and outside of both men and women that are involved in making a baby. And that's it for today's video about the female reproductive system. I hope you've learned a lot and thank you very much for watching. Bye!